What's up, y'all? I'm back out here on the range again on another fantastic day. Temps right now are in the low 60s. We're only supposed to hit the low 70s, so should be a beautiful day to get some good testing done out here. I've got a few interesting things planned, and we're gonna start it out with a little 357 Magnum. So the jelly contraption's clocked in, ready to go to work with a couple of chronos and 2 fresh blocks of gel. First test of the day on this one, so you get a really nice clear picture. I've got my heavy clothing barrier up front, of course. It's got the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. And for this one here, we're checking out some more good old Speer Gold Dot in 357 Magnum. This time we've got the 125 grain. Now y'all know just a few weeks ago I tested the 135 short barrel stuff. It actually did a really good job, so I'm expecting this to do a great job as well. Here's a look at your cartridge. Nickel plated brass case, got sealed primers there, got the Gold Dot projectile. Now this is one of the Gold Dot styles that's not really a deep cavity. It's kind of more like a satellite dish look to it. I've seen that in a couple of other Magnum rounds, so be interesting to see what this does. Now as far as ballistics, they're saying 1450 FPS at the muzzle of a 4-inch barrel, so not the spiciest 357 Magnum out there for sure, but at those velocities, if we hit those velocities, it should do some good stuff. And I do have a couple of different barrel lengths to test them out here. We've got a 4-inch here with the Ruger GP100, and then I've got a 2-inch barrel Taurus 605. So this ought to be a pretty good one to start out today. Let's get everything set up and see what they can do. All right, let's get us some numbers on this stuff. I'm gonna do a 5-round average from each barrel length. We'll start out with the 4-inch first. Now they're saying again, remember 1450 at the muzzle of a 4-inch, so we should see that here. I'm kind of doubting it though. I feel like we're gonna fall a little bit short. Now you will see multiple numbers from this radar. The large one's right here at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. Those are set for 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is here at 10 feet. And then I've got the other set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. The 1450 is what we need to see right here. If not, I mean, I won't be surprised, but disappointed, let's say that. It feels good. 1430, 1420, 1403, 1376, and 1372. They started out pretty strong and dropped on down about what I figured. Let's check out the average. All right, so we did fall a little short of that 1450. We ended up with a 5-round average of 1400. Now we did have a high up there at 1430, so I would say under the exact right conditions, great conditions, you would probably see that 1450 out of the perfect scenario. We had an extreme spread of 58 right there with a 25.9 standard deviation, so not the most consistent just because of the way it started dropping for whatever reason. Still though, I think it's going to do a nice job in the gel just because these are Gold Dots. But let's reset it and see what the 2-inch does. All right, let's see what happens with half the barrel here, y'all. I expect we're going to get quite a bit of a loss off of this right here. 1125, 1198, 1151, 1142, and 1205. So we jumped up on that last one right there, but we were quite a bit shorter from the long barrel. Let's check out the average. All right, we definitely dropped on down with the 2-inch barrel. We had a 5-round average of 1164 feet per second, a big spread, 280 extreme spread with a 35.4 standard deviation. So these 125 Gold Dots definitely don't seem to like the short barrel, at least not this short barrel right here. 1164, and if you remember out the 4-inch, it was 1400. So you talking about 236 FPS difference right there. That's a big difference. That's probably going to make a significant difference in the gel. I'll be surprised if they're really close. It's probably going to be a pretty good difference, but who knows what's going to happen now at this point. I think they both are still going to do a decent job, but let's get it all set up. Y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, it's Gold Dust jelly time. I'm going to put one from each barrel length into the gel, starting with the 4-inch first. One thing I can tell you about that little 2-inch Taurus is there was tons of unburnt powder in the cylinders, in the mouth of the barrel there. I could even feel it splattering back on me while I was testing it. So that's probably why we got the really inconsistent velocities. But let's see what this 4-inch does for us, y'all. All right, I see that down there in the second block for sure. Let me see what I got. All right, that one right there ain't looking too bad. It's nothing that I'm real excited over, but it ain't looking bad. That being said, it's looking questionable enough that I'm still a little worried about this 2-inch right here. Maybe it'll surprise me though, since it is a Gold Dot. No, that's exactly what I was afraid of. I'm pretty sure we just went the distance. Let me go check this out. All right, y'all, let's check out what we got down here. Not at all what I was hoping to see for the first test of the day, but I really can't say I'm all that surprised. You know, we talk about how good Gold Dot is a lot of the times, but honestly, from all the testing I've done, Gold Dot ain't all that great. I mean, there's some calibers it's fantastic in, but across the board, I mean, I've seen a lot of inconsistency from Gold Dot. But let's look at what we got right here. As far as on the top there, that's the 4-inch. Now, it did what it was supposed to do right here, I guess you could say. Still a little weak as far as 357 mag. As far as I'm concerned, there are far better rounds out there, but this one comes in here, nice disruption right here, nice energy transfer immediately all the way through that block. Very nice, you know, disruption into this second block, probably I'm gonna say about 4 or 5 inches, and you do have some expansion, but you've also got a big old plug of cloth in the front. So I think there's really no doubt seeing that right there what happened down below here, because that one is the 2-inch. Obviously it comes in here, now you've got some disruption, but that's just because you've got a Magnum round moving on through here at around 1200 FPS, goes into this second block, keeps on trucking all the way through this second block and straight out the end. So there's no doubt you had no expansion there, and I would be willing to bet that's because it just got totally clogged up, moving too slow to get what it needed to get out of the way. But let's check the penetration here. So the one from the 4-inch, it's actually out here right at 20 inches. So, you know, further than some people would care for, but for me, I'm fine with that right there. That's fine on the penetration, and you did get some expansion. As far as the 2-inch, again, it's all the way out 32 inches of gel. And then here's your close look at them. Really, the 4-inch is the only thing worth looking at. As you can see, that one did actually really nice there. Just lower energy than what I personally want from a 357 Magnum. Carries all the way through there. And then there you can see the projectile. You can see it's got that plug of cloth in the end. Back down to the 2-inch, it just keeps on trucking all the way out the end, 32 inches of gel. Pretty much same deal from the top here. You can see the 4-inch actually did a nice job. I mean, I have to give it credit there. All the way through this block again. There you can see the 4-inch, and then there you can see the 2-inch, 32 inches and gone. All right, let's take a look at this one lonely little projectile here. As you can see, definitely not expanded to its full potential, not even close. I mean, it got, y'all know me, that's adequate expansion. I'm fine with that expansion, that's plenty for me, but you can tell that is not as much as it was meant to get. And then here you can see, that's the reason why. I mean, this stuff just got defeated by this cloth, in my opinion. Now, this is not a failure. I wouldn't call this 4-inch a failure. This is fine, although, again, it's weaker than I want for 357 Magnum, but you can see, I mean, this stuff is just getting tore up by this cloth, and there's no doubt in my mind that's exactly why that 2-inch failed and went all the way out the end. And I guess I ought to clarify my statement on about how Gold Dots, I think they're not all that great, not that consistent. Really, I should say Speer's own loading of the Gold Dot is not all that great. But let's get us a few measurements on this thing anyway. It started at 125. I don't expect any loss, and yeah, it's at 125.2, so absolutely no loss on it. And then as far as your size here, you got 5.36 and 5.41, so nice even expansion. Not a whole lot, but again, y'all know me, I'm not real crazy about having to have a ton of expansion. So there you go, y'all, the Speer Gold Dot 357 Magnum 125 grain. I'm not a fan. I'll just tell you straight up, I'm not a fan in either one of these barrel lengths. The 4-inch did plenty good enough job. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to argue that. And it did pretty much what it was supposed to do from a 4-inch, although you can see, again, that's not full expansion. The velocity was lower than it was supposed to be. So in my opinion, much better choices out there, even for this 4-inch. As far as the 2-inch, that's an absolute failure. I mean, that's an absolute failure, and that probably shows you why they do have that short barrel formula. All right, y'all, definitely not the kind of results I was hoping to start the day with, but unfortunately, you can't special order what happens out here. Like I said, I'm really not all that surprised by what we saw. I'm kind of surprised that the 2-inch went all the way through both blocks. I figured it would have problems expanding and just be very, very minimal expansion, maybe a pedal or two peeled open, and probably go into the second block, but it was massive fail. I mean, that's absolute massive failure. 32 plus inches of gel, and you can tell there was just zero expansion. Not to mention, even if you put aside what happened in the gel with both of these rounds, they're both weak as far as I'm concerned for 357 mag. The 4-inch isn't something pitifully weak, but there are far better rounds out there. So I guess one of the biggest lessons learned here is if you're running a 2-inch 357 mag revolver, go with that short barrel 135 grain, I believe it was. That stuff actually did pretty well from what I can remember. Unfortunately, I still have the 158 of this stuff right here too to test. If this 125 did this bad, the 158 is probably going to do even worse, but I'm still going to put it through the paces and see what happens. But let me know what y'all think about it down in the comments. Do any of y'all out there run 357 mag short barrel? Do you run Gold Dots? If you do, what weight do you run it in? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Reminder as always, if you're doing some shopping, check out those affiliate links I've got in the video description. Lots of good stuff down there, and anything you pick up helps the channel, so I really appreciate that. Big thanks as always to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got a couple more tests planned for out here today that hopefully go better than this right here, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.